And it is Friday. Shake the Lake night, Canadian Men's National Baseball Championship going on in Regina. A lot of you probably driving to Calgary. We're here for the next 3 hours of SportsCage for Nelson Holmes on Friday. Nice little program put together as well. Colson is riding shotgun. He's in the pocket there. We're going to have Farhan Lalji come on at about 3:30 time, talk CFL football, little NFL there as well. He is in Calgary getting ready for the Stamps and Rider game tomorrow. We're going to hear from Malik Carney of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Luke Mullinder in hour 2. We're going to talk officiating in the Olympics. We have some Saskatchewan flavor going to officiate hockey in Italy. That'll be really cool. One of them will stop by here. Hour 3. More. We hear from Keyshawn Johnson before the Stamps and Riders. We'll hear from the new kicker, Campbell Fair. And then Craig Button, TSN hockey analyst, who'll be part of the Western Canadian Professional Hockey Scouts Foundation celebrating Indigenous hockey coming up in Regina, September 30th at the Connexus. What a lineup that has. Craig Button, he can talk about anything, especially hockey. We're going to talk about the event coming, but I also want to pick his brain on scouting in general, the new NCAA, CHL, how that's changing things, and then World Juniors with Craig. So busy show for Nelson Holmes. All of our guests join us on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. On a night like tonight, you just want to pick up takeout. That's what my wife said. I'm just going to do takeout. So perfect pizza, generous amount of toppings, all the Greek favorites you love. And then our sports tickers are for Reliance Heath Water Heater Rentals, Extreme Hockey and Sport, and built by Western Canada in Western Canada, Steelcraft Doors, Regina. You can always play along and participate. Prairieland Rentals text line 936-6262. Prairieland Rentals, 600 Albert Street in Regina. You get to deal with the owner. If you're driving to the game in Calgary, let us know. If you're out harvesting in this weather, let us know. Let us know where you're harvesting from. We like the pictures as well. And my co-host for the first hour, I don't know how long he's going to stay, he might stay longer, is none other than rider historian, former writer for the Leader Post, all-around statistician guru. I'm not sure if he's watched Rain Man yet. Rob Vanstone is in studio with me today. First off, first time in the studio. You were going to the old one.
Yeah, this is quite spiffy. This reminds me of somebody's basement. We need like I was going to say you'd need like a large TV, but there's a monitor in front of us with showing what's supposed to be on the show at every juncture. So this is absolutely tremendous. And some of this stuff I remember from my youth, and I didn't even remember that I had a youth until I got here today, but I guess I was young at one point.
We're missing the musty basement smell.
Well, I brought that with me.
And
you'll wish this was a remote interview.
And a Chesterfield.
Chesterfield. Nobody ever calls it Chesterfield. It's always couch.
I would be furniture stores out there. There's your marketing hook for the busy fall period.
Chesterfield was a cigarette too once upon a time.
Was it?
Yeah. So
a Chesterfield blowout. We were supposed to be live at Curry Field for the Canadian Men's National Baseball Championship. The weather threw a monkey wrench into that. It's just a little too windy. So when our engineer, the great Ryan Mosh, as we call him around here, we'll call him with Mosh, he said, I don't know about going today in the weather out there and the wind. I'm wearing glasses off and on. If you're watching the stream at sportscage.com, because I almost lost my eyeball on Tuesday. Not even a joke. It's a true story. I'm going to wait for that one because Sharky is going to read me a new one. Right on the field right now, Saskatchewan's taking on Alberta. We're in the 6th inning. That's the host, the Regina Trappers. Looks to be a 5-4 game. The other Saskatchewan team lost to Ontario today, so they're still going there. It'd be wind. Where's the wind coming out of right now, Colson? You're a weather guy. Last night I'm watching Quebec, and it was a cross, so wind somewhat blowing to left field at Curry. And we couldn't see, but you could hear it. And all of a sudden, there's a couple guys on base. And then someone's like, oh, that one's gone. And I'm like, that had to go to left field because going to right would have been somewhat into the wind. And
there's a short porch in right field there, too. But that would be challenging.
It would be. This is like the ball going on there, though. And I didn't really realize I talked yesterday to the one gentleman from Marysburg playing on the trap. There's a lot of guys that played, AAA, AA, pro ball doing this because the WCBL, that's the college league, so to speak. So a lot of these guys are older. Andrew Albers, they asked him to play. He couldn't quite get into shape. There's some good ball going on.
I was really looking forward to seeing it. I was disappointed with the weather as it turned out today, but 3 months from today there'll be snow on the ground, so we can't complain too severely.
Exactly.
Weather coming from the northwest, 41 gusts to 65.
So I think that'd be the same as yesterday. Correct me if I'm wrong out there, SportsCage Nation, but I'm thinking as I kind of go off everything at the Royal Regina Golf Course, which way the wind is going, and good wind and bad wind, but I think that's the same way. The Trappers are back on the field tonight at 7 o'clock against Manitoba. That could be a big game. That could be for first place there as well. And then the other Saskatchewan rep, Saskatoon's on at 4 o'clock. But it is Rider game day tomorrow. You didn't make the trek to Calgary. Were you on the fence, though, or did you want to go to that one?
No, I'm happy to watch the game with my beautiful dog and my beautiful wife and keep my beautiful stats. I'm not inexpensive to feed the way I've been going lately. I didn't want to put the team in financial peril.
How many what kind of notes? How many pages of notes would you take during a game?
It generally depends. I write down all the plays as I go, and that's usually about 7 or 8 notepad pages. Then in little small letters, I'll put things that I might want to ask about, write about, things I might want to check on, questions I might want to ask. If there's a certain juncture in a game that seems noteworthy, I'll write it down so that I don't forget it when it's time to go down to do interviews, and then I forget it anyway. Sometimes it's also a matter of going into my MacBook and updating stats as they go. Like if there's a 52-yard reception, I've got an all-time list of 50-plus yard receptions in the history of the Rough Riders and of their opposing team. So if like Dante Myers had a 58-yarder last week and the week before, so I'll go in and update that list. In fact, it's funny. Dante Myers has 4 receptions of 50-plus yards this season, and in 9 games, and that's the fastest pace for the first 4 50-yard receptions of 50 yards or more since Jeff Fairholm, coincidentally. In 1993, he did that in Game 7. He had his fourth 50-yarder. That's way too many numbers. You can evict me now.
That's why I asked.
This is why they didn't want me in the plane.
That's why I asked if you've watched Rain Man yet. Here we go. I love it. But how much has it changed for you over the years? Have you always kind of done it the same, or have you adopted new ways to do, obviously the computers and what you can do nowadays on that? But and then the other part to that question is, do you have like a mentor or anybody that does the kind of gig anywhere else that you kind of ask for advice or take things from?
I've been doing this. The first time I ever did it, it was 1978. It was a Saturday night game, and the Riders were in BC, and the game was on the radio. And I decided to write down all the plays. Riders won 15-9 without scoring a conventional touchdown. Sam Holden recovered a fumble in the end zone for a Rider touchdown, and it was just drenched at Empire Stadium. And it was just this quagmire they played in. And for some reason, I was listening on the radio. Not that that's ever a bad thing. The game wasn't televised back then, and I wrote down every play, and I got hooked on it. And so then I just kept doing it, just writing them down. And then October 14, 79, the Riders beat Edmonton 26-25 for their first victory of the year. And I had written down every play, and I was so excited about that. I got home and I went to the typewriter and typed in all the play-by-play. And then from then on, I'd get home and type it in. And so I think it all derives when I was 14 or 15. So I guess I was young at some point, contrary to what I was mentioning earlier. But that's just been a habit I've had. And I'd sit in Section 204 Taylor Field with a clipboard on my lap with with kind of little stat sheets that I'd had my mom help design for me. And I'd write down all the plays. And I had a column for runs and receptions and returns. And one September afternoon against Ottawa, Calvin Kirk caught 2 long touchdown passes against Saskatchewan in the first quarter, and I was so mad that I kind of slammed my fist on the clipboard, and it was suddenly I suddenly had 2 clipboards. So I got a reinforced clipboard after that. So I mean, it all dates back to kind of when I was probably the late 70s, early 80s, and I've always done that, and it helps you stay really attuned to the game, and I can, now that I have the historian job with the Riders, there's more things I can do with it. Probably too many tangents I can go off on. Sort of like now when I ruin your otherwise enjoyable radio show. Sorry, Barney. Sorry, Colson. Sorry, Saskatchewan.
If you have any questions for the great Rob Vanstone, let us know. 936-6262. We do have some text messages coming in here. Roscoe's saying there's a SaskTel issue, so he can't see the videos or video. Not sure on that. Brandon and the crew on their way to Calgary to watch the Riders. Of course, that's the same crew that drove all the way to Vancouver, Colson, I think, back earlier this year. They're putting on the miles. Saskatchewan beat Alberta 10-4 with a grand slam in the bottom of the sixth. Okay, so that the website is a little bit off for the National Men's Baseball Championship. So we got to update that. Saskatchewan beat a grand slam, walk-off grand slam in this wind.
Man.
I wish I'm going to have to pull the video
with
on
this
that.
wind, it might have been a pop-up that just happened to go out.
Yeah. If it's going the right way. Have you been McMahon Stadium? I was thinking about going tomorrow. I don't think it's going to work. I've never been to a game at McMahon. Obviously, the joke Jock Wilson had at the Christmas tree, the red, green, and white everywhere. They do. I really wanted to check out the tailgate situation. McMahon Stadium. What's the energy? What's the vibe like at a game there?
It's neat because it's a lot like the Labor Day Classic with the Rough Rider fans intermingling. With the Bomber fans intermingling with the Rider fans, and you see I don't know what the percentage is. It'd be interesting to know where the loyalties are divided, but there's just so many Rider fans across the country and so many Saskatchewan expatriates in Calgary, and you just...
Do you think it'd be close to 50-50?
I'm not sure it would be quite that proportion.
40%?
30-40%. Yeah. If you're listening to a Rider Stampeders game on the radio, and that's certainly recommended considering where I'm sitting, but you'll hear a play. You'll hear a play be described, or if you'll hear a play go on, and you hear the ovation and the cheering. And if the game's in Calgary, you're not sure until Dave Thomas enlightens us whether it was a big play for the Riders or a big play for the Stampeders. That's how robust the responses are to both teams when the teams play in Calgary. It's really cool.
Have you ever taken in the tailgate?
I have not. I'm not a real tailgate type of person.
But you're such a
I'm too busy with my stats.
Yeah, but that's why you like to talk. You like to talk stats, talk numbers. I'm sure there's a bunch of guys tailgating or girls out there that would just love to sit there and throw numbers. You can throw numbers back and forth.
Yeah, but if I get one wrong, then I'll be upset. I went tailgating before the Green Bay Packers game that I went to.
What month?
That was September of
nice.
2006. It was John Ryan's first NFL game. Yeah. And I went down there to cover that for the Leader Post. I think it was September 10th. And Riders played in Winnipeg the same day. And I went to the tailgating really early, and I've never eaten so much free bratwurst in my life. It was great. And then the Packers lost 29-0. I didn't even get to see a Lambeau leap. My one visit to Lambeau Field. They could have at least had a rouge for me, so I could have seen something.
We went
all those touchbacks might have been of some value.
A late November game. The year not that long ago. It was Brady versus Rodgers, an absolute Sunday night shootout.
Oh my goodness!
It was so good, but we really got after it the night before. My wife's got it screened. I almost bought a fur vest from a bazaar that was going on in the bar in Green Bay.
Why would you need one?
Exactly. It's very Saskatchewanish there. And then you drive into Green Bay. I don't know if you flew in.
I flew.
But you drive into Green Bay. It reminded me of driving into Moose Jaw.
That's exactly what I said.
And then there's no real high rises. All you see is the stadium from a distance. And then it's very small. It's very cool. So the tailgate story is we got really banged up the night before. And then it was like, hey, beer and clams. Let's go tailgate, have fun. And I'm head to toe Patriots gear. Buddy is a Packers fan, but he needs a new jersey. So he goes into the stadium. We're 3 hours before kickoff. He goes into the stadium to buy a jersey. all of a sudden I'm just sitting by myself, basically on the step, having a beer and clam, looking absolutely rough. And he texts me and says, "Hey, just so you know, you're on your own. Once I'm in, I can't get out." There's no, because they scanned his ticket. He was in. So I had to tailgate for 2.5 hours by myself in and around Green Bay. People were so happy. And that was the year that the Patriots probably should have played Green Bay in the Super Bowl. But Seattle upset Green Bay in the cold weather, and then the interception, yada, yada. That was all great. And then the other part to it was he was only going to wear jeans and a jacket. And I'm like, at 7 o'clock, it dips to where it says it's going to feel like -3, but it's that damp cold. It's like going to Foxborough. It's like going to New York, to those places where it's really cold. Off Toronto would be the same. So he did end up wearing the ice fishing gear.
Oh, my goodness.
And we still had to go warm up at halftime. It was so cold.
I remember... Oh, sorry, Barney, go ahead.
If anyone's ever going to a game, in any of those places where it's a damp cold, it's a lot different than what we're used to here.
That happened to me. I was in New York, and I went to a Giants-Cowboys game in the Meadowlands.
Old Meadowlands?
No, it wasn't. Where was it again? Where
Like MetLife?
MetLife, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that in the Meadowlands?
Oh, it's in the horse tracks right across the
And
way.
I got there, and once I got off the subway or the train, I realized this is way colder than I thought it was. And so I went to the Giants store and just bought all sorts of stuff. So if anybody wants New York Giants stuff, I guarantee it's only been worn one time. I got a toque, I got sweaters, I got scarf.
There you go.
Gloves.
Yeah, we do buy and sell here as well. We don't have a flea market anymore, but we can open it up on the Sports Cage. Rob Vanstone's going to be with me here on the show. We're here for the next 3 hours. Farhan Lalji's coming up. It is the Sports Cage. We're streaming at sportscage.com, allegedly, through a YouTube channel. And I'm always on the home of the Riders, 620 CKRM. Welcome back to the Sports Cage for Nelson Holmes on Friday. Hey, tomorrow's a Rider game day. Don't forget the participating KFC locations in Saskatchewan, the End Zone Big Crunch, only $4.95 on a Rider game day, and the Big Crunch Combo, $7.95. All participating KFC locations. Prairieland Rentals text line. So it was Harris is the bat boy for the Regina Trappers. So Harris, you're a beauty. Thanks so much for sending that in. What happened was it was the Regina Trappers playing Alberta, bottom of the 6th inning, and we have a grand slam. So the Trappers win there. They're 2-0. Gordy McDougall hit it. There's your clutch performer in a bit, Colson. And then earlier today, it was the Team Saskatchewan, which is made up the Marysburg, Saskatoon guys. They lost to Ontario 7-4. They're back on the field at 4 p.m. at Currie, and then the host Trappers are back on at 7. So sorry about that. We wrapped it all up. We got it now. Rob Vanstone is my guest today here on the Sports Cage. I love it. You're walking around the studio, exploring the space, as the great Will Ferrell said in the Cowbell episode of Saturday Night Live. And you found the old, what were they, the Golden Girls?
We're known as the Golden Girls back then.
So it's a picture, I'm explaining this to the radio people. It's a picture of the Saskatchewan Rough Rider cheerleaders from
1983.
Okay.
And it just,
You went to high school with a few of them, you said?
I recognize one of them from high school. I graduated in 82, and that calendar, that picture's from 1983. So it's kind of neat to see something of my vintage that's actually in color.
That's not that long ago.
They barely invented photographs when I was in high school. So, unfortunately, they had my yearbook photograph in grades 10, 11, and 12, which looked like it belonged in a post office somewhere. So there was a number on my chest, actually.
All right.
I got so many jokes based on that yearbook photo. I'll show it to you later if you want to scream.
Okay, so I'm going to test your knowledge then. And I know we're going to talk a lot of football here. Farhan Lalji, you're waiting for him to come on. We'll talk a lot of CFL. On this day, August 22nd, 1986, one of my favorite movies of all time was mass released at theaters all around North America. It was released on, I think it was August 8th at select theaters, but today was the big release.
1986.
Is it 5 young boys go out on an adventure to find the alleged remains of one Ray Brower? Is that ringing a bell at all?
No.
936-6262 out there. Every time I bring this movie up, there are a number of people out there that remember it. 1986, released August 22nd. Some young guys are going out on an adventure, and they were going to try and find the body of Ray Brower.
I saw one movie in 1986.
That was a big year for good movies.
Peggy Sue Got Married, and I saw it in Lloydminster.
86 was a big year for releases. It was the Rocky, was it Rocky 3?
14.
versus the Russian.
Was it Drago? Was it Drago the Russian?
Ivan Drago. Yeah, there was one of the Rambos, or that was another one in 86. This movie got released. I just remember because I got Dan Croft texted in. Look at all these people now. East End, Saskatchewan. Shout out to you, Ryan. Love East End, Saskatchewan, that neck of the woods. Look at all these. As soon as I mention this show, every time, people absolutely love it. It was the movie Stand By Me. It's one of my favorite shows. My kids have now watched it 3 or 4 times. So we can talk about the back Harlow Road, the pie eating contest, all that as we go along here. But let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline, where we're joined by TSN's Farhan Lalji, who is in. What's that? Oh, good kid. Play the intro. Sorry, buddy.
It's time to get the inside story. TSN's Farhan Lalji on SportsCage is brought to you by the Cooperators. Time to get financially fit? Cooperators can build a plan that works for you. Cooperators, investing in your future together.
I got so excited on all the Stand By Me talk that I just went off there. Look at all these people They're bringing in their famous quotes from that show. Do you remember that show, Farhan?
A little bit. I watched the movie, but it was a while ago. I don't think I could pull out any lines from it. I've been too busy prepping for Stamps and Riders, buddy.
What do you think happens tomorrow in that one?
Well, more importantly, what happens tonight is that I'm having dinner with your broadcast crew, right, with Luke and Dave and Mike, and we're sending you the bill. Just so you know.
You send away. That doesn't mean you're going to get paid.
Luke said, Barney will handle it. It won't be a problem.
Luke owes me.
Well, look, I'm just wondering if that last game can repeat itself. And I'm picking the Riders to win this one. But, what happened in that first game when these two teams played, right? Number one, there's obviously not going to be a one-day delay here because of air quality. But Calgary did what no other team has been able to do, and that is stop A.J. Ouellette on first down, right? Like, they were able to take Saskatchewan's running game away and kind of really dictate how Saskatchewan had to play offensively. And they got into a lot of second and long situations. Can they do that again? Look, I love Jalen Hutchings, that defensive tackle. I think he's been outstanding for them. Is it going to be enough? We'll see. The other side of it is and also Flo Remalade as well, who's been really important for that defense. So is that going to be enough to do that again? I don't know. I think Saskatchewan's going to make every possible effort to show their physicality and how they play. And the other side is that Vernon Adams was really able to push the ball down the field and hit some deep shots. And Saskatchewan hasn't given up a lot of those. I mean, they've given up some passing yards, but not necessarily the number of deep balls that they gave up in that game. And then on top of that, Damien Alford's back. So that's a big deal for Calgary. But you lose Dominic Rhymes, you lose Tevin Jones. So that really shrinks the available viable targets for Vernon Adams in this game. So, we'll see if both quarterbacks can go for 400 yards again. I think that's going to be tough.
Damien Alford, I think that was kind of more his coming out party. He played really well the week before, but then he really showed up in that delayed game in Regina here. Do you think the Riders can use what they did last week in a way against Lawler, against Hamilton, A, for confidence, and B, for game plan and how they kind of played him high-low and with Tavon Campbell out there?
You know what? I don't know that they're going to do that, right? I think Dedrick Mills is probably a bigger problem, and containing Vernon Adams is also a bigger problem. And as much as I like Alford and as much as I like Philpott, neither one of them are Kenny Lawler. Neither one of them require that level of attention. So I don't know that they need to necessarily pay that kind of attention. I mean, can both those guys win contested balls? Sure. But in terms of route running and what they're doing, I think that's going to be a bit of a challenge. So I would be surprised if Saskatchewan made those guys as big a priority as they made Kenny Lawler last week.
Farhan, hello, by the way. What do you make of the quarterbacking matchup tomorrow? It's a marquee matchup team-wise, but if you look at the quarterbacks, we're talking about two who are in the conversation for most outstanding player, as was the case last week when the Rough Riders played Hamilton and Trevor Harris and Bo Levi Mitchell.
Yeah, and I love both these guys. I'm a big fan of Trevor and Vernon, not just as players, but personally. They're super guys, and they're great for the league. Team first guys, but guys that can beat you in a lot of different ways. When you look at a guy like Trevor Harris, for years we've been accustomed to saying, okay, well, this is a guy that just gets the ball out of his hands quick. Well, do you know both these quarterbacks are tied for the league lead in completions over 30 yards with 19 each? Trevor Harris is showing that he can beat you a lot of different ways. And one of the things that he pointed out to me that was a real surprise, this is the first time in 7 years that he's had the same offensive coordinator in back-to-back seasons. So he's so much more comfortable in Mark Mueller's offense and what the next evolution of what that looks like in year two, as opposed to just learning another offense again, right? And with Vernon Adams, it's been different because he's now gone to a different offense, and he's got a first-time offensive coordinator in Pat Delmonico. I think he figured when he was going to go there that he was going to get Bo Baldwin and Dave Dickinson, but he's got Pat. And I think Pat's done a really good job of how he's managed games. And both these quarterbacks can lean on running games. Both these quarterbacks, I went through the roster for Calgary. Like, Saskatchewan's got the most continuity of any team in the league. We know that Calgary's completely turned over its defense, but it's turned over big pieces of their offense, but not their offensive line. Both teams are playing behind really, really comfortable and confident offensive lines, and I think that's also leading to a bit of their success.
You had said earlier this year, I believe on this program, Farhan, that if Trevor Harris stays healthy for most of the season, all of the season, we could be talking about most outstanding player. Again, that conversation is already percolating near mid-season. Is anything you're seeing this season so far surprise you in light of what you had projected before the season even began?
Yeah, probably the deep ball, to be quite honest with you. And that's not to suggest that I think Trevor can't do that. He can, but it's just at that stage of your career, are you willing to play the game differently? And we're seeing Bo Levi Mitchell do it differently, and we're seeing Trevor Harris do it differently. And one of the things, I know Trevor's quarterback coach, who's based in North Vancouver very well. His name's Rob Williams. He also works closely with Nathan Rourke, and he works closely with my son. And so I've had a chance to get to know Rob for a while. And what he does is he essentially harnesses power for quarterbacks in a much more efficient way, so that you can push the ball without trying to put your entire body into it. There's a real science to kind of how he teaches it, and I think Trevor, full credit to him at this stage of his career, has decided to invest in that and to attempt to do it differently. And I can see the way Trevor does it. His mechanics are different now, and it's so difficult for quarterbacks to adopt different mechanics at this stage of his career. So he's been able to find new power in a different way. And, now you don't need to just step in and hitch in to make deeper throws, right? He can just do it within the confines of what she's doing. So I think that's been remarkable at 39 years of age for Trevor to implement that into his game at this stage.
Only one sack in the last game for the Riders. Sacks aren't everything and all that. But are we safe to say here as we sit in, August 22nd, is the Rider defense intimidating?
Well, I think that defensive line is pretty intimidating. When you look at their top four guys, they've got 18 sacks between them. So it's your inside guys, your outside guys. It doesn't really matter. They've all got the ability to play. I mean, Micah Johnson having a rebirth with 5 sacks right now. I mean, he's not just a two-gap player that can draw double teams. He can push the pocket and eventually finish, right? And Mike Rose playing alongside of him, that's been unbelievable. And then, you look at the guys on the edges. Carney is playing his best football of his career, and then Shane Ray on the other side, and then they've got depth pieces. So, I think their linebackers are fine. Their secondary is good. They're not drawing as many turnovers. They're not generating as many turnovers as they would. But if you want to deal with that D-line, they can get pressure with 4, and they can take away the run with 4. So that D-line is intimidating, if not the entire defense.
Last game, I think could be the stat of the year for me is how AJ Ouellette was held to under 10 yards, to 9 yards. Like, it's baffling. I don't know if Mr. Vanstone here heard any of the conversations throughout the week, but there's got to be a challenge put out to that offensive line to a man from the coaches to say, you guys need to bully them this time. We need to run the ball, to your point that they need yards on the first down.
Yeah, you're right. And, Corey Mace talked about that with us earlier in the week as we were getting ready for the broadcast. So just that physicality, that's our DNA, and we didn't show it in that game. Yeah. And you have to, right? Like, people talk about how teams defend the run, right? Like, the thought of defending the run happens in a few different ways. And number one, it's, can you get out to a big lead, right? And when you look at what Calgary did in that game, hitting those deep shots, that as much as anything else, like, in the first quarter, they did some good things up front, but then they got a lead. And that's how you stop the run, force teams to throw the ball because they're playing catch-up. And I just don't know that Calgary's going to be able to have that level of success pushing the ball down the field the way they did in that game. And that, as much as anything, can change the way you play the game, and it allows you to lean on the run. Look at what Winnipeg does, right? Winnipeg just stays in football games, right? And they're not really explosive offensively anymore, but they stay close in football games so that Brady Oliveira can carry the ball in the fourth quarter. And that's what I think Saskatchewan wants to do here, right? Stay close in this game so that you can still continue to lean on AJ Ouellette for 4 quarters, not get out of it before halftime.
Well, Farhan, why do you think it is that in a league that's often referred to as a pass-first league, a wide-open league, that the run game has become so important?
Well, I think that teams, again, they want to keep their running backs involved. And it's not always in the run game, but just keep those players active. So whether it's Ouellette out of the backfield or a guy like James Butler in BC who's done it both ways, I think that's really important. So it's not necessarily, Rob, the reemergence of the running game, but it's the reemergence of the running back. And that's so important, especially in a league where quarterbacks do generally want to get the ball out of their hands quickly. Sometimes it's going to be, if you can get teams in man coverage, can you take advantage of a matchup with a running back on a linebacker? And, so I think we're seeing that with Ouellette. I think we're seeing that with Dedrick Mills here. I think we're seeing that with Butler in BC. And those are the teams that allow themselves to stay balanced. If you can stay balanced, you can have success for 4 quarters of a football game.
Should we ask you about the kicking situation in Saskatchewan and Brett Lauther?
It's going to catch him at some point, and Brett Lauther over his career has proven to be a good kicker, but we understand that kicking is mental. And right now, Brett Lauther isn't necessarily as confident as he's been in previous years, right? So I know they brought an additional kicker in this week to provide some competition, and we'll see what that turns into. But if you're Saskatchewan, this is good. Like, this matters, right? Like, you can't just be blindly loyal. You have to find ways to create competition throughout your lineup. And, what does they say? Pressure builds diamonds, right? So
yeah.
We'll see if that happens in the kicking situation. But, 2/3 being a 67% field goal team, that's just not good enough.
This could be a yes and no question, but I've asked everyone this week this: if the Riders are 4-4 going into this game, would it be different, do you think? Would we have a different kicker?
Yeah. But they've been able to ride it out, right? They've been able to. The other 2 phases of their team have been so good that the kicking game hasn't really been the difference maker. But at some point, it's going to be.
I should point out, though, all of this is emanating from a game in which Brett Lauther kicked a 59-yard field goal. And I don't think that can or should be discounted.
It should be. It should be, Rob. Don't let the dessert get in the way of the main course. 2 for 5 is not good enough, right?
I'm more the 66%.
And Brett will be the first person to. Brett will be the first person to say that. But it seems like the 59-yarder, which has happened only 4 times in Rough Rider history, and not that often in CFL history, is being conveniently brushed to the side.
Yeah, I think it's candy. I truly do. You look at Sergio Castillo in Winnipeg. He's hit a couple over 60 yards, right? But you've got to, if you go back, and not that they've got necessarily an option there that has been a problem all year, but he needed to make the winning field goal, which was shorter. And you've got Mike O'Shea in that game deciding to take a shot with a 57-yarder. Like, you're not going to hit those game after game, play after play. It's the 47-yarder that matters more because you're going to get those opportunities to do it more. And so I would take consistency over the 59-yarder anytime.
And I would also speak up for his body of work. I mean, this is somebody who throughout his time with the Riders hit 82% of his field goals. So we're talking about a pretty small fragment of time compared to the body of work, which I think serves him well, and I think will continue.
How
to do
long
so.
is the leash?
Well, look,
I think it'll be very long.
You first asked me. I said that when you first asked the question. That, you know, like I said, his body of work with the Riders is important. That's why he's here for this. You know, that's why he's been able to stay here as long as he has been. But 9 games is a reasonable sample size. You don't run from that. And so as you get closer to the playoffs, he's going to have to improve, or they're going to have a decision to make.
The game Ottawa Edmonton, loser goes home match like the old WWF days.
Yeah, we're getting to that point, aren't we? Right? I mean, you know, Edmonton could play themselves back into it.
Yeah.
With a win here, and you know, if BC wins and Winnipeg just won, you know, like 5th place is not going to get you a wild card, right? One of those teams is going to be the wild card front runner. So if Edmonton wants any shot at this, they've got to do it. Whereas if you're Ottawa, you still could potentially catch Montreal. Now, I think the second Davis Alexander comes back, and I would imagine it's probably going to be that 3rd week of September. You know, I don't know that I would play him against Saskatchewan with that defensive line and force him to run more. But when Davis Alexander gets back, I think Montreal is going to be an entirely different team. But until that happens and they continue to stumble here, you know, I think there's more at stake for Edmonton right now than there is for Ottawa.
Okay, I'm going to leave you with this question, NFL style. Where's where's Parsons playing football this year?
Wow, that's a great question. I don't know where he's going to wind up, but day by day here, Jerry Jones just looks worse and worse and worse because his players that he's got signed, the Dak Prescotts, the CeeDee Lambs, they're tired of this. And we're now a week and a half from opening day. So even if they sign Micah Parsons today, when he plays on opening night, he's not going to be able to play as much as he otherwise would. So right now, Jerry Jones has compromised his team's ability to win on opening night, which is going to be hard enough against the defending Super Bowl champs on Thursday Night Football. So you're alienating a lot of people in that room if you're Jerry Jones.
He's got to be looking for property in Foxborough, even something to rent. They got lots of money. They got lots of money there for Farhan. I love it. Okay, have a good time tomorrow in Calgary. We'll catch up next week. Go Riders.
Rob, always look forward to talking to you. Enjoyed it. And Barney, we'll send you the bill, buddy.
Yeah.
All the best, Farhan.
Send away. TSN's Farhan Lalji for the Cooperators.
He even mentioned my dog. He mentioned Candy.
That is... I love it. It is brought to you by the Cooperators, where you can be financially fit. They'll build a plan that works for you. Cooperators, invest in your future together. Let's go to break here right now. It is a SportsCage streaming at sportscage.com and on the home of the Riders, 620 CKRM. Riders Stamps tomorrow starts right here, 2 p.m. on the Rider Broadcast Network. Riders are a 1-point favorite going in. The over-under is 50.5. Depends where you look, though. It might be a little bit different. 23 degrees out, not much wind in Calgary tomorrow. CFL tonight. 3-6 Elks, a 3-7 Red Blacks. Like I said, it's kind of the loser goes home match. Canada Men's Baseball Championships here in Regina. The Trappers beat Alberta 10-4 in a walk-off grand slam. The other Sask team lost to Ontario 7-4. Saskatchewan is on the field at 4 p.m. and in the host, Trappers are back on at 7. Major League Baseball doesn't look like Vladdy's in the lineup as the Jays start a series in Miami. Shane Bieber pitching, though. NFL tonight, Eagles, Jets, Cowboys, Falcons, Vikings, Tennessee, Chiefs, and the Bears. That is your sports ticker in hour one for Reliance Heat Water Heater Rentals, keeping you in hot and soft water. Let's go back to the Riders here. Malik Carney, we got an interview here answering questions from a fan on the text line. Also talks about being physical and the defense calling their own plays. Here's Malik Carney and Dave Thomas.
Malik Carney, I get asked a lot of questions by fans, and this one comes to you. Where did Scoop come from? How did it originate? Where is that nickname happening?
Go all the way back to high school. Long story short, we had a scout team running back, just cooking. Probably went for like 300 yards. Coach called the play where we met between the tackles. Boom, scooped him. dropped and one of my teammates was just gassing me up. Scoop, you scooped them, big scoop, scoop, scoop. And it stuck, and then next thing you know, everybody's calling me Big Scoop. Got the college, dropped the big, became Scoop, and it just stuck with me.
Never know when a nickname can be stuck on a person, but you guys have been stuck as a team on stopping the opposition run game so far this season. What's the secret to that?
Just being physical at the point, knowing that we got to, stop the run and have fun. And that's second down long, and that's where we get our money at, getting sacks and just disrupting the offense, making it hard for the quarterback.
Tell me about stopping the run game, because it didn't work so well against the Calgary Stampeders, maybe the lone time that it hasn't this season. What happened in that game?
I'm not into excuses, but that's definitely on us. The defensive line, we definitely hold ourselves to a high standard, and they're a good team, and it's something that we just got to work on and be better at, which I know we will. And again, it's just going back to being physical at the point of attack, getting rid of blockers, and making plays.
Coach said that he was going to show a lot of game film this week from that Calgary game to you. Has he? And what have you taken from that?
He's definitely showed a lot of game film from that, because there's a lot of corrections we've made, from that game. But I've just taken that, just being physical and just regaining our identity versus that team. It's nothing that they do specifically, it's everything that we do, and we know that we're going to get it done.
When you say physical, your coach thought that there was a lack of physicality in that game against Calgary. Is that the ultimate disrespect that you can give to a football player, saying that you didn't play physical enough?
I wouldn't say disrespect. It's just something that we have a standard, and the standard is very high. And if we're not playing to that level, then, as a coach, he's every right to, call us out and make sure that we're staying up to that level of our standard. So, again, it's something that we take with pride, and we're going to do it, get it done.
6 sacks again last week, and a lot of times you're not adding players in on the line of scrimmage. What's working so well?
We're just playing together, having that chemistry together, rushing together, knowing each other, how we rush, and we got dogs on that front line, even in our backup. So continue to just being relentless in our rushes, studying the guys, our opposing, our offensive line that we're going against, and just being relentless in our rush.
Coach is giving you the opportunity, and the entire defensive line opportunities to call plays out amongst yourselves while you're out on the field. Have you had that opportunity before, and what does that mean?
I wouldn't say called plays, but he definitely gave us the freedom to run different, twist games and rush how we want in alignments and stuff where we feel like we rush best at, or even we have a beat on a particular guy, to create some havoc. And that's a great thing that what Coach do, and a huge reason why I came here, just letting us be free and play to our strengths.
You've been very strong on the field, holding the opposition out of the end zone 2 straight games. How much pride do you take in that? Extremely high pride, man, and we're going to definitely do the same thing this week. Just continue to everything that we do, just being relentless, being physical, and getting out to the quarterback. Hopefully I can call you Scoop. Well, Scoop, thanks for doing this.
No problem, man. Thanks.
Hour 2 of the program. Thanks for stopping by. Nelson Homes is our sponsor today. Rob Vanstone is with me in the studio. He's decided to stick around. Colson's in the pocket. You're always welcome to engage, play along on the Prairieland Rentals text line from power tools, gardening tools, skid steers, doesn't matter. 600 Albert Street. You get to deal with the owner at Prairieland Rentals, 936-6262. Thanks to everyone who remembered Stand By Me. If you missed that earlier, 1986, it was released for the most part. Mass release today in 1986. One of my favorite all-time movies. Somebody mentioned the comb going through the train track, the train bridge scene of the movie was epic. Vern's comb going down. We also had a text message here from Dan directed at you, Rob. What's your take on the Vanier Cup and Grey Cup being played on the same weekend?
I have batted this one around in my head so much because you have a built-in audience with the Canadian football fandom and who's who in Canadian football right there. Mm-hmm. But does it get lost in everything that's concerning the Grey Cup? And I have not, and I'm sorry to be wishy-washy with the answer, but I really haven't processed that one to a degree where I've been able to definitively say to myself, this is what I'd prefer. What if, if you have this classic game and Vanier Cup games tend to be really great, and you can look at it and say, okay, if the whole country's here to actually go to it, that enhances it. But if, does it get lost? I'm never really sure, and it's never really been tested, so you can't really see. But we've had such wonderful Vanier Cup games, and I think the caliber of the game tells me that it can or should be viable as a standalone event. But without the host team being guaranteed a berth, what kind of crowd are you going to get if there isn't a proximity involved? It's
such a geographic
I didn't really give you a very good answer. I do apologize, but I haven't been able to reconcile it with myself yet.
I was at the Toronto Grey Cup where they played the Vanier the day before at the Sky Dome. It was, again, like you mentioned, so many Vanier Cups are epic football games, entertainment value through the roof. But again, geographically, that's where you're getting your fans. Like, I forget who played in that game. I want to say maybe St. Mary's, but it was such a good game, but you're not invested, again, unless you're gambling on it. That's not a joke either. Like, it's like anything. You're not going to see a lot of people from Alberta, Saskatchewan really invested in a Western Laval Vanier Cup. And then the same weekend, I don't know how much that matters, but to your point, I think for sure it stands alone entertainment-wise.
I mean, you can go through them and enumerate them, and there have been so many games that are just quintessentially Canadian football. And that's one of the things I've always loved about Canadian football is that people talk about the CFL and the caliber game it provides, and that's undeniable. But some of the best football games I've ever seen were high school football games at Mosaic Stadium. The 1993 city final between Riffle and Tom was just as great a football game as you're ever going to see.
Final score?
It was Tom won it. Kennedy Nikiasen was just going crazy on the ground.
I was in grade 10. I remember up in Saskatoon people talking about it.
And so it was Tom with the formidable run game and Riffle with the great passing game. They had Chris Orban, a quarterback, and a receiver named Dadden Gudmundsson. And so it's two contrasting styles, and it went right down to the wire. Very high scoring for both teams, and Tom ended up winning. I don't recall the score. You can evict me from the studio on account of my fading memory there.
Weather?
I was in the press box, didn't matter. Me and Ian Hamilton watched the game in the press box.
But I remember the Vanier Cup game, and I think it was the first year I moved to Regina, and I was going to go back with the fellas in Saskatoon and watch the Huskies play Laval, and it felt like minus 30, minus 20 something. Like it shouldn't have been playing football in that. The only thing is because we run so late in the season now, it becomes if weather's playing into the game, that's the only thing. I like the controlled environment in a way for that game, but we're hosting it here this year. Let's hope for everything good at Mosaic Stadium. Should be good. We got them. Let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. We're joined by color commentator here on our broadcast tomorrow for the Stamps and Rider game, Luke Mullinder in Calgary, Alberta, situated at the hotel, doing all his prep work, getting his work done. Luke, are you going back to the first game against these two teams and expecting the same, or was it because it was such a weird game, played the next day, you stayed up till midnight, all that? Are you expecting the same? What are you expecting tomorrow?
Tomorrow's going to be interesting. You've got a Calgary Stampeders team that's directly behind the Riders in the standings. Obviously, a chance to create some separation and then head into the to the Labor Day back-to-back against the Bombers and create some more separation there. I think that the main storyline here, or at least for me, is the fact that this is a redemption opportunity for the Saskatchewan Roughriders that were out physicaled in Saskatchewan during the replay edition of the of the game. So it's such an opportunity for these guys to get out there and correct the things that they saw on tape when they first played the Stampeders. Obviously, I think that there's a few. I think they have a couple injuries, but I do know that Damian Alford's back, for instance, for them. So I would expect the best effort. I think that Calgary knows that they'll probably see Saskatchewan in some way, shape, or form, playoff-wise, at some point. So to get out here against the Riders again and potentially push their physicality on them again, that would be big. So Saskatchewan, I think, obviously it's not the only thing you think of when you have a game where you do want a little bit of redemption, but that was probably the biggest difference between the two squads in the first edition of this game.
Okay, let's say you're the color commentator for Montreal or Toronto right now. So, put an impartial hat on. And going back to the old quote, your record is what it is and says what you are. Are the Riders 8-1 good?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the defense hasn't allowed a touchdown in 2 games. The offense is incredibly efficient, and I think they're getting great coaching. I think one of the things that doesn't get talked about enough is the job that Mark Mueller's done. I think Edwin Harrison is doing an excellent job again. He was probably the assistant coach of the year for the Riders last year, and this year the offensive line looks just as good, and they've had to tinker with that rotation this year early on as well. Again, I go back to Mueller. I think he's just done a masterful job. Him and Trevor seem to be on the same page at sort of every corner. But more importantly, the way this offense has fed off of the threat that A.J. Ouellette has been awesome. We saw it in Hamilton. We saw it in Montreal. The threat of A.J. Ouellette being able to carry the ball 5 yards at every single touch forces teams to stay in on the play action passes, to pause on that line of scrimmage on the run pass option plays, the RPO plays, just a little bit longer. And Trevor is absolutely slicing teams off of those play actions. And then again, when AJ does go and get the football and runs for 4 or 5 yards, Trevor's been deadly in the second down and 6th and less range. So it's been great to see. They're absolutely 8-1. This is a team that is probably one of the best teams in the league when it comes to special teams, cover teams as well. We haven't had the production as of late on the return side of special teams, but again, I think that special teams is going to be huge. Hopefully we can get Dre off today or tomorrow, because I think that one of the keys to a win here is to flip the field, steal those hidden yards here tomorrow versus the Calgary Stampeders. Make the Calgary Stampeders go a long way when it comes to opening their possessions, things like that. So this team is every bit 8-1. It's the best team in the league right now, and there's no bones about it for sure. You've got particularly the last couple games, right? I mean, that Montreal game, that was big. I don't care if it was a backup quarterback, the 6th-string quarterback, the quarterback that they found at Laval 2 days ago. That is a tough building to play in, especially when there's that many people in there and they're engaged in a football game. To dominate the Montreal Alouettes in Montreal at home like that was special. And then to come in and really take a surging Ticats team and make them look like it was preseason specifically on offense. This team is every bit as good as people are saying they are. But the nice part is they're not saying they are. They are focused on winning the next game because it's the most important game and saying the right thing. So you just got to continue to harness the things that you're doing well in the practice week and harness those feelings during a week that you had and that you know that you can lean on that made you successful in the games that you've won.
Luke, I asked this question to Corey Mace yesterday, and it intrigues me. Something has to give in this game, and I'm not sure what. You've got two teams that are very good offensively. They're very good defensively. Somewhere there has to be a crack in the armor somewhere for a team to ultimately win and get the edge, but I cannot figure out necessarily what's going to give. I think it's that intriguing a matchup. What do you think is most likely to give, and on the part of whom?
I'm not sure about the give part. I do know that it feels like this is a turnover-based game, right? Where the turnovers stay low, but maybe the team that gives up the first one loses, type of deal, right? That's why I go back to the physical part of this game. So this reminds me a lot of the clashes that the teams that I played on used to experience with the Calgary Stampeders, and that's a good thing for the CFL fans that are out there. But in terms of breaking, I mean, you want to keep the turnovers low. Well, to a minimum, 0. You want to win that battle, but again. One of the things that I don't think that the Calgary Stampeders are going. I don't think you stop the offense of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I think it's really tough. Like, they're clicking, right? But, and this is a big but, if Calgary can hold the Saskatchewan Roughriders to field goal attempts on their drives versus, the Riders being able to cross the goal line with the football, that would be huge because on their side, they've got a killer. They've got an absolute murderer in Rene Paredes, and that guy has been doing it his whole career. I feel like if the Calgary Stampeders don't shut down the Riders' offense, do they keep them out of the end zone and keep this game to kick versus kick, in which they have one of the best ever in Rene Paredes, right? So do they try to keep it low score? I think that I'm just like you, Robbie. I'm so intrigued by this game because of just the implications that one mistake may tilt the balance of a football game, right? And there's none bigger. And I'm expecting a good crowd tomorrow. And when I look at the defensive teams, like, again, you really don't see. I think that it might come down to some of those hidden yards on specials, so flipping the field, and more importantly, which team not necessarily keeps the offense from moving, but which team limits the teams to the field goals versus crossing the ball with the goal line. That might play into this one a little bit more than usual.
Answer this, and more from the defensive side as a former player. Why did teams have so much success running scripted plays, as like Hamilton did when they came out?
Well, when you script plays, defensively or offensively, I think that obviously you're scripting them based on what you know about your opponent and what you know your opponent wants to do. So essentially what you're doing is you're coming out and you're saying, we want to be this way today conceptually. So we're going to run a few of these plays in order to test out whether what we've seen on film is truly what we're going to get. And I don't mind scripted plays. I mean, I don't think you should look too much into them, right? I mean, scripted plays are great, but again, once you have success or you don't have success running them, you still got 60 minutes to play after that, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that scripted plays do a really good job of just identifying your opponent and what you see, validating some of the things that you thought were on film and you thought you could put in the game plan, right? So let's say, hey, we got these 5 plays here that we're going to run right off the bat, and then we're going to run these 3 in our first this play we're going to run in our first 2nd and 7+ situation. This play we're going to run in our first, 2nd and 3 to 5 situation, and see where we get. And that can be a litmus test for the rest of the evening per se, right? Like when I test my pool, for instance, and I test the levels and chemicals in the pool, I get a read back, and that tells me what chemicals I can put in the pool to make it the best experience for anybody that comes by. Normally nobody, because I don't invite people over and we just hang as a family. But you get the picture, right? You're testing it out and you're figuring out just, did you validate some of the things that you thought you could do against this opponent? And when you run them successfully, it probably feels pretty good, right? Because then you can say, okay, this game plan holds solid. But if you come out there and you have 6 scripted plays, you get to run all 6 and they're a disaster, then you're into plan B and you're saying, okay, well, when we looked at these plays, we built plan Bs off of these plays, we're going to have to go to those right away because this team is doing a really good job against what we thought we wanted to be.
How long did you hold your breath last game when Trevor took that hit late? And how quick does Mace pull him the next time that happens when they got a spread there in the fourth quarter?
That was a big hit. I actually listen. I think Trevor Harris he's a tough kid. I think that it didn't really sweat. I thought it was a big hit, but I wasn't really worried for him. I was more concerned. I think it was the quarter before when he was running the football. That's where he's gotten himself into trouble, right? When he's been back in there in the pocket, he's a tough kid to crack. So I wasn't necessarily worried. I was glad they pulled him out of there. It was probably time. And honestly, it was probably that part of the field where they were going to pull him anyways. I actually think that the hit definitely validated Mace wanting to take him out, but I think he was going to take him out next play anyways, to be honest with you, because that's just where they were.
I don't know about that. Go ahead.
What does number 95, Luke Mullinder, make of the two teams' defensive lines? I get the feeling you would have had a wonderful time playing on either one of those defensive lines the way they are both performing.
I love our defensive front, and the reason I love our defensive front the most is because that's a complete defensive line. Mike Rose has added such a dimension. He's given the ability to. Mike Rose has come in here, and teams can't just sit there and try to beat up on Micah on second down, right? You've got to be aware of where number 42 is. This defensive front, I mean, the guys on the end, they're starting to really roll. Shane Ray, over the last couple games, has looked great. I think it's taken him a few weeks to just sort of get himself acclimated. I think Scoop's playing probably the best that he's ever played in his career. Somebody should ask him that, but that's just the way I feel. I think that this Malik Carney version is better than any Malik Carney that we saw in Hamilton, and that's a great thing. But again, quarterbacks aren't able to really pick a soft spot in that defensive front, and they're getting there with four, right? Like when you're seeing pressure off the edge with Carney, Shane Ray, quarterbacks are stepping up, but they're stepping up right into the face of a pass rushing defensive tackle who can't be blocked. And the best part about it is you've also got Haba Baldonado. You've also got Caleb Saunders. I think that Benoit, the more reps he gets or continually, you've got Patrick, number 91, who we haven't seen a ton of, but we know has some talent. This is a very deep defensive line, and it's a joy to watch. But Calgary's got some studs, too. I don't think they're as deep. I think that that's definitely the strength of the Saskatchewan Roughriders defensive line compared to the rest of the league as well. Is the rest of the league's got some studs up front, but I feel like this team has studs all up and down. Like Baldonado and Saunders, they could start in any other team in this league, right? Like and that's what you want. You want guys that when they're in the game and they're giving you, whether it's 5 to 25 snaps a game, you want no drop off. And they don't have a drop off when Baldonado's in there, when Saunders is in there. So it's been great to see. And I think that they just need to continue to keep it up. And the more they can get there with four, the more they get to dedicate into coverage, right? The more multiple they can be. They're a threat in any type of situation that they're put in these days, and that's a good thing. And it gives obviously Corey Mace an outstanding just array of things that he's able to do, right? If he was back there and he was only able to get pressure with 5 to 6 to 7 guys, that would limit everything that the Riders are, right? But no, he's kept them back there with 4 as of late, and they've got the job done. So it's been great to watch, Robbie, man. I can't remember since I've been in this role. I retired in 2013, and then I can't remember when I got into the color role, but I was doing a little bit. Like, this is one of the better D-lines, I think, or at least one of the D-lines I've enjoyed watching the most.
Well, 2013 was the last time the Riders had more sacks over a 3-game span. They had 17 over 3 games that year, 16 over 3 games in this current juncture. So the parallel you raise is really perfect there.
And that was a cheat code defensive front too, right? They had Chick back there. They had Foley. They had a great pass rushing tandem there with McIlvain. They had Thierryus George. They were solid in the interior, and they had Sholo. And Sholo doesn't get enough credit for his pass rushing ability. He was a good pass rusher, man. He wasn't a Scott Schultz, but he went in there and got it done when he needed to, man. So shout out to Keith Sholigan. But you're right, that defensive front was a beast as well. And anytime you have a good defensive line, anytime that you got a deep defensive line, you've got a chance to win a championship.
How risky is it to even send extra people and go beyond rushing with 4? And when you look around this league and you see Rourke, and you see Cody Fajardo burn the blitz for a winning touchdown in Montreal.
Good question.
There's Trevor, there's Colaros, there's Bo Levi Mitchell, etc. There's so many wily quarterbacks there's VA. There's so many quarterbacks who can make you pay the moment you play your hand by sending any more than 4. Am I correct?
You have to understand the risk reward, obviously, right? But there is a way, as long as all of your guys understand the way you're blitzing, you're going to be okay. So I'll give you an example. The Riders they'll line up, 7 on the line of scrimmage. That means they've got no safety. Everybody's in man, right, across the board, even if it's like 2nd and 5, all right? That might seem like a risky proposition right off the bat, right? Because the opponent's going to bring 1 to 2 players more than you're able to block. But as long as the defensive backs, for instance, know that in this situation, the ball has to come out quick. As long as the defensive backs know that if they hold this ball, the quarterback's going to get popped, because there's no way that the offense, whatever they have in there, can block long enough, then they get to be able to jump the football, for instance, right? You just have to understand the situation. That's why football is the ultimate team game, right? If I know that, yeah, you know what, this is risky, we don't have a safety back there, but the quarterback is not going to have very long at all because of the way we're blitzing. That means he's got to throw, or he's going to get sacked or smacked. That means that if he looks to his first read and chances are he's going to throw that ball. I can jump this. Right? I don't have to worry about the pump fake here, because if he tries to pump fake, we're going to kill him. He's going to be in the hospital, right? So that's the nice part about, because you're right, Robbie, we've got some great quarterbacks, right? But we also have smart defensive backs, and that's what you need. You need to understand the defensive backs and the linebackers. Everybody just needs to understand the timing that the quarterback is actually going to have in the blitz that they're calling. Or they have to understand, hey, yeah, you know what, this is a risky look, but really if he doesn't throw to this guy at first, he's got little options. So I might be able to take a chance or two here, right? You just have to understand how your position works within the rest of the blitz. And I think that's probably, we saw Hamilton doing it, we saw Saskatchewan do it quite a bit, but that's where you see some of the experience that guys like Marcus Sales have, Roland Milligan, right? Definitely Tavon Campbell, who's taking advantage of that situation. These guys understand, hey, look, if this quarterback doesn't throw this ball here, he's hit. So I can take a chance. You know what I mean? He's not going to have a chance unless he breaks outside of the pocket on a miracle play and just lobs it down. We can give him that one. But this guy's got zero opportunity right now. He has to throw the ball, so I can actually play this understanding that the cards are in my favor and not in his.
Okay, we're running out of time here. This is a quick one. Last time these two teams played, AJ Ouellette had 9 yards. What kind of odds would we get? AJ Ouellette under 10 yards, what, plus 50,000?
Under 10?
Again. What would the odds be? It's not going to happen.
Over.
Come on, everyone in the world would be. It's still baffling to me how that happened.
Well, no, it's not. It shouldn't be baffling to you at all, because their defensive coordinator is Bob Slowick, and this guy's got all the experience in the world, right? Bob Slowick is the guy, and you saw it right away. As soon as the Saskatchewan Roughriders lost to Calgary, what did everybody else do? They loaded up the box and just said, we're going to take AJ Ouellette out of the game, right? And I expect them to try to do that again. Why wouldn't you? If it worked the first time, see if it's going to work twice, right? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, I'm an idiot, right? So let's go with that scheme, figure it out. I do think think, though, that the Riders are going to come with I think the Riders, you don't need to be different. You don't need to be different. This isn't a game where you come in, you throw like 6 trick plays in and roll with that. You just got to be more physical. And that's why I think that this game is going to be so good, because these teams are 2 evenly matched teams.
I would think AJ would get 10 yards just falling over 3 or 4 times, just getting the yard. And I thought for sure you were going to do the George Bush there. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me, you can't fool me again.
Yeah, no. I'm not going to make that same mistake. I do have one thing, though, and I know that we got to go. You know, I've watched a lot of TV this week, and I get the AJ, the Thor deal. But, man, if anybody's watched WWE as of late, AJ Ouellette looks a lot more like Brock Lesnar than Thor. All right? I want to throw that out there to folks, man.
Marysburg, Saskatchewan. No, where does he live? He lives down
somewhere in this province.
Somewhere in this province. I heard you're going out for...
He's hunting something.
I heard Farhan Lalji's picking up supper for you guys. Are you guys going to Pete's Drive-In?
Pardon? Oh, Farhan's? Oh, man, yeah, I don't even know what's happening for dinner, man.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't even know if I was getting on the plane about an hour until it left. So
maybe you guys are going
I'm just here hanging on, fellas.
Maybe you guys are going for something French this evening in Calgary. All right, buddy, have a good call. I don't know what you're doing Monday. Maybe we'll join you on Monday. Join us on Monday again.
All right, we'll do.
Okay.
Have a good show, guys.
Right on.
Thanks, Luke.
Color commentator Luke Mullinder. Tomorrow we start at 2 o'clock right here on the Rough Rider Broadcast Network. Games at 5. Kickoff's going to be a good one. Time for a break. We're going to talk Olympic hockey when we get back. Saskatchewan gentlemen will be going over to Italy this winter. It's a Sports Cage on the home of the Riders, 620 CKRM. All right, welcome back. Sports Cage. Clutch performers today. We got to search for this one. It was an epic finish today at the Canadian Men's Baseball Championship. The Regina Trappers, number 27. Here it is. Gordy McDougall hits a grand slam, bottom of the 6th. The Trappers defeat Alberta 10-4. The fellas are 2-0. They're back on the diamond at 7 p.m. tonight at Curry Field. Team Sask from Saskatoon, Marysburg, they're 1-1. They're back on the field at 4 p.m. So they're back on. They're on right now, and they're up against New Brunswick. The hosts play Manitoba tonight. So Gordy McDougall is our clutch performer, number 27 for the Regina Trappers Grand Slam, as they move to 2-0 at Curry Field. It's windy. No doubt about it. If you're not in Regina today, I think everywhere in Saskatchewan, we got a couple text messages from people farming out there and harvesting. It's pretty much windy everywhere. SaskTel's having issues as well. So don't try and call anybody. Find a rotary dial telephone. That is our clutch performer. For Nick's Service in Emerald Park, your local Massey Ferguson, Challenger, Rogator, Gleaner, and Fendt dealer. We've had so many text messages on the Prairieland Rentals text line about the movie Stand By Me, which was released in theaters this day, 1986. It was hard to find. So keep the Stand By Me references coming as well. No Western Pizza guest hotline right now. He's in studio joining us, official that will be going to Italy for the Olympics. Tarrington Wyonzek from Yorkton, Saskatchewan. Nazdrovia, dai Boja. A good Ukrainian boy here. First off, Tarrington, you've been to a lot of international hockey events. You were at the Worlds this year. When you get the call to go to the Olympics, what goes on in emotions?
Honestly, my wife and I were crying after it, just because you work your whole life to get an opportunity for that, and nothing's guaranteed in sports, as everyone knows. So when I got the call, I went to the basement and did my Zoom call, and I come upstairs, and my wife was waiting for me at the edge of the steps, and we both just kind of broke down in tears of joy, and it was a feeling I'll probably never have again in my life. So
we've got to know each other a little bit, and people won't understand this. But you worked, what off to get this. You were on a regimented diet for a while. Like, you put everything you had into making this. Because was this you figure this was kind of your last crack at it?
Yeah, this is probably, if I didn't make this Olympics, I don't know if I would have had an opportunity at 2030. So there was definitely some pressure to get selected for this one.
when you look back, like, what was your gut telling you? Did you think you had a pretty good chance? Was it 50-50?
Honestly, you don't know. Like, you think when you go to those international tournaments, you're in a good spot, especially if you if you skate the final day and work a medal game, you feel like you're in a pretty good spot. But I mean, in the world of hockey, nothing's given. Everyone knows that. So I was feeling pretty confident, and then a few days where I wasn't so confident. But yeah, definitely a big wave of emotions over the last few weeks for sure.
Lines person, is that what we're calling it now? But then you kind of were showing me the text message, or we were talking over the phone, of the gentlemen that are going to ref the men's side. Like, you're going to be with the big boys, with the big shooters.
Yeah, a lot of guys from the NHL that are going. They're have a lot of them have multiple Stanley Cup championships that they've worked. I'm not going to mention any names right now. I don't know if the NHL's released their guys or not yet, so I won't mention any names. But I can tell you, there's a lot of years worked on the NHL side of things.
We got a text message here saying you're Polish, not Ukrainian.
Everyone says I'm a puke. I'm half Polish, half Ukrainian.
Derek and Kenora, shout out to you. Let's talk about the other Sasky weapons that are going as well. As I look here, we got Cudworth, Sienna Murray, Moose Jaws, Michelle McKenna, and Alex Clark of Drake, all going to Italy. That's a pretty good representation from Saskatchewan.
Yeah, there's 10 Canadians selected, so to have 4 from Saskatchewan is a pretty big number, considering the size of our province compared to some others in Canada. It's a pretty cool experience for all of us to be selected and to go.
How many years have you been reffing or lines?
This will be my 23rd year.
What got you into it?
When I was a kid, I just when I was like 11 years old, I had a paper out and didn't really love the paper out, so I needed to make some money some way, and I started refereeing hockey, and slowly over time got into it more and more, and had some opportunities as a young teenager to kind of work some decent games and some big events, and you kind of just fall in love with it and keep going.
Has there been a mentor, somebody that's kind of really helped you along the way, or somebody that you can lean on, ask questions to?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of guys. Like, when I was young, growing up in Yorkton, like Jeff Barre, Gary Garlick, there are a couple staple officials from back there that when I was young, they took me under their wing. And then once I got into the Western League, guys like Kevin Minch, Brad Howard, just guys that watch a lot of games and give you a lot of advice. Sean Dufour is a guy from Regina who skates a ton of Pats games and a ton of Western League games around here. I worked a lot with him my first year when I got hired by the Western League. So just guys like that kind of take you under their wing. And yeah, for sure. It's definitely Kevin Minch had a big role in that, just getting me opportunities in the Western League and getting me opportunities at the national level of officiating too.
So, like, what is the next 5 or 6 months or whatever before you go over? What, do you go train anywhere? You're just doing your regular thing? Are they a lot of Zoom calls, stuff like that? How does that process work?
Yeah, we'll have Zoom calls, every once in a while, just with all of us as a group to go over, logistics, go over some rules stuff. There's a little bit rule differences from the NHL to the international rule book, so going over some of that. A lot of video packages will be sent out where you just go over video and whatnot, and then besides that, I'll just be skating a lot of hockey here until I go and in the gym training. So
it is so cool. The wife's obviously going.
Yeah. My wife's played a huge role in me being successful in this, because she's sacrificed a lot for me to be able to travel on the road a lot and, be gone to Europe for 3 weeks at a time for tournaments. She's watching the little one on her own. So she's played a huge part in me getting this for sure.
Buddy, congratulations. It was so cool. Like I said, I know how hard you worked at this and you wanted it. And all the Sasky, people go in there. It's very cool. Thanks for coming in and doing this.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me.
Right on. Tarrington, Wyonzek, he's heading to the Olympics here. Going to be a lines person. It's unbelievable story. It's a Sports Cage. We go to break. We're streaming at sportscage.com. Rider Stamps tomorrow, 2 p.m. We start things here on the Rough Rider Broadcast Network. The over-under is 50.5, and it looks beautiful weather-wise. If you're driving to the game, going to the game, 23 degrees, not much wind. CFL tonight. How about this barn burner? 3-6 Elks against the 3-7 Red Blacks. Loser will be relegated. Canada Men's Baseball Championship at Curry Field. The host Trappers. What an epic game against Alberta. 10-4 A walk-off grand slam by McDougall, number 27 in your programs. The other SAS team, they lost to Ontario 7-4. And then a quick update of what's going on right now. New Brunswick's up on Saskatchewan 3-0. The host Trappers play again tonight at 7 p.m. at Curry Field. The Jays are back in action against the Marlins. Shane Bieber first start in over a year. Doesn't look like Vladdy's going to play. And then some NFL tonight. Eagles, Jets, Falcons, Cowboys, Vikings, Tennessee, and the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes supposed to play hosting the Bears. Don't forget the Regina Thunder home opener coming up Sunday 1 p.m. at Leibel Field against the Edmonton Huskies, and the U of R Rams in little preseason defeated Manitoba yesterday. Sports Ticker in hour 2 for our friends at Extreme Hockey and Sport and Umbrella Marketing. Right now at Extreme Hockey and Sport, they have the price match guarantee. So if you're into shopping local with a good local company, they'll price match. As long as you do your due diligence and show them, they'll match that. Check out the Bauer Flylight gear they got into Extreme Hockey and Sport in Regina. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. It starts. I mentioned this earlier. All participating KFC locations in Saskatchewan on Rider game days. Don't forget the End Zone Big Crunch, $4.95. So that's tomorrow, and the Big Crunch Combo, $7.95. So if you don't have plans to have lunch or supper tomorrow, visit all participating KFCs in Saskatchewan. Don't visit them all. Visit one, and you can pick up the End Zone Big Crunch for $4.95. Coming up in hour 3, we're going to talk some riders. We're going to hear from Coach Mace on Keyshawn Johnson, and then Keyshawn Johnson, also new kicker Campbell Fair, and how he had to get to Regina. It's pretty interesting. And then Craig Button, TSN hockey analyst, is going to join us. We're going to talk about the Western Canada Pro Hockey Scouts Foundation celebrating Indigenous hockey on September 30th here in Regina. Star-studded lineup. If you want to get tickets to that, it's on the day of Truth and Reconciliation at the Connexus Arts Center. Some of the hot stove and the guest speakers coming are going to be awesome. Button's going to be there as well, but how about John Nasty Morasti, Brian Trottier, Dave Tiger Williams, Rich Pelon, the King brothers, a whole lot more. So we'll talk to Craig Button about that. And then just some other hockey things, scouting, how scouting is changing with the NCAA CHL loop now. It'll be a great conversation with Craig Button. Don't forget, Shake the Lake tonight. Dress warm. I will be. I'm going to see Default. We've talked about this all week. Default, big Default fan. If you're not doing anything right now, crack out The Fallout. What an album that was. Listen to that. 2001. Shout out Default tonight at Shake the Lake. We'll see you there. Hour 3 is coming up. It's SportsCage. We're streaming at sportscage.com through our YouTube channel, and as always, on the home of local sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. Welcome back. Hour 3 of the program. Lots of rider talk here. We're going to hear from some of the guys momentarily. We also got Craig Button from TSN coming up. I'm going to try and give you a quick update from the Canadian Men's Baseball Championship right now going on at Curry Field here in Regina. Not a great one so far in the third inning for Team Saskatchewan. That's the Saskatoon Marysburg team. They are down 5-0 to New Brunswick currently. They lost 7-4 to Ontario today, so they really need a win. The host, Regina Trappers, are back at it at 7 p.m. at Curry Field, coming off a dramatic win over Alberta earlier today. And somebody on the text line, thanks so much for that. It's, I guess I said his name was, his name's pronounced Jordy McDougall. So sorry, I called him Gordy. It's Jordy. Jordy Gordy. Thanks for the text message. And anyways, he nails a grand slam. Call him what you want. He won the game for the Trappers. They played 7 o'clock this evening. Riders tomorrow. Things start at 2 o'clock here on the home of the Riders, the broadcast network with the team. Kickoffs at 5 o'clock. Don't forget all participating KFC locations in Saskatchewan. The End Zone Big Crunch, only $4.95 on a Rough Rider game day. The Big Crunch combos, $7.95. So that's good news. Earlier, long time ago, at training camp, Coach Mace was asked about Keyshawn Johnson, receiver for the Riders. Heck of a year, along with a lot of our receivers. And Mace said that Keyshawn was the best kept secret in the league. That's back at training camp. So he was asked this week, is he?
Well, if I keep talking, then it's not going to be a secret, Dave. No, just joking. I don't think it's a secret. I think people respect his game. But, he's dependable. He'll go in, again, to the tough areas, make catches, his yak. Whenever we've called his number, man, he's been up there at a high tick, making sure he gets the job done for the team. So, incredible. And he looks smooth all week, same stuff, man. It's just we're happy to have that guy.
Last week, solid game against the Tiger Cats. 8 receptions, 117 yards, no touchdowns. That's all right. He's got 682 receiving yards through 9 games in the season. Here's Dave with Keyshawn, the best kept secret.
Keyshawn Johnson, how excited are you for the Calgary Stampeders this weekend?
I'm excited every week. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. We got to go out there and execute as a team and, go 1-0.
This team has been executing offensively, defensively at very high levels the last couple of weeks. What has allowed you to do that?
Just the preparation we put in each week, the time we put in after practice, before practice, just to stay healthy and going there and watch film as a unit. And we see all of our guys around the building doing the same thing.
As you look at your season individually, one of the quietest seasons because you don't get a lot of attention for the masterful work that you're doing. Is that okay with you?
That's fine. That's part of the game. I'm still new to the league, and it takes time to build. Build your name in the league coming over, and that's fine with me. It's not, as long as my team going 1-0 each week, I'm good with it.
You talked to me earlier and you said how much you love competing for balls. Well, you made a 2-yard reception last week that was one of the nicest I've ever seen coming up off the carpet. How do you do that? Is that vision? Is that, again, going back to your preparation physically?
When you see the ball, I see the ball, my eyes light up, I'm ready to go get it. So, once I see the ball, I'm just doing my best and giving my best effort for my team to go out there and, make the play.
Your roommate, Dante Myers, said that he competes with you, whether it's in yardage, whether it's targets, whether it's who makes the best post-practice meal. How competitive are the two of you, and how much does that drive you?
It drives us, it drives us both a lot. We battle on everything. If it comes down to cards, it doesn't matter what it is. We're going to make it a competition just to get each other better. And that's the main thing, to get each other better each week, each day. And that's our goal.
When you and Dante are competing with one another, right, is that making you better, or is there a bad point when that competitive nature can come out? I'll give you an example. If we're playing cards at my house, somebody's always going to be mad and it's going to go on for days. With you guys?
No, it's it's whoever at that moment. It's all fun and games at the end of the day. It's all fun and games, but it's to motivate each other to, go out there and practice as hard as we can practice to make all the plays that we can make. And once we get out here, we laugh about it. We call out who won the day and we leave it alone. And we're always going to move forward, and we're with each other too much to be mad.
So, Keyshawn, when you're talking about players or talking to defenders that have the task of covering you, they talk about their juices getting flowing, how they like to try to go ahead and win that individual matchup. Same for you as a receiver?
Yeah, it's the same. You always want to go out there and win your one-on-one. If you get man coverage and it's a one-on-one, any player is going to expect to win. Defense and offense, so just going out there and, just competing and making the best play.
You're in the heck of a run right now, if you call it a gauntlet, if you will. Of course, I know you're focused 1-0, but an opportunity to continue forward with these good teams that you're facing is in Calgary. How important is this game, or are you going to tell me no bigger than any other?
That's how I'm going to look at it. I'm going to look at it as, just the next opponent. You can't think of the bigger picture, for further down the road if you can't get past this one. So that's going to be our goal. Every week I'm just going to try to look at it like that and stack the wins with my team.
We did get a few text messages on the Prairieland Rentals text line of people going to the game today, making the trek to Calgary. We've talked about it a lot this week, how there will be a lot of Saskatchewan fans in the stadium. You know what? I was going to give you an update out there, and let me just give me a second to look up here, because I think at last check, Matt Young, who's been on the program, he does the stats and how many tickets are left for the game. And I want to say it was showing around 17. It was 1,400. This is 2 days ago. So the seating capacity at McMahon Stadium, 26,468. Tickets sold 2 days ago, 25,000. So about 14,400 or 1,459 tickets were still available. Cheapest tickets around $46. If you're going to the game, well, it should be weather-wise, it's going to be really good anyways. It's also a bit of a homecoming for a few of the players. Mike Rose being specifically, as he's back at his former place of employment.
Well, Mike Rose, welcome back to Calgary. The question that everybody's going to ask, we'll get it out of the way first. Is there any resentment or thoughts about leaving Calgary upon your return?
Nah, man. It's a business. It's a job. You know, when it first happened, I was upset, obviously, but it is what it is.
Now, I would suggest that you've been welcomed with open arms in Rider Nation. Would you agree?
Yeah, it was like going back to old frat house, you know? I mean, when you're in one place for so long, you forget there's other teams, there's other places, there's life somewhere else, I didn't die when I left Calgary, so.
Mike, tell me a little bit about how your defensive line has gelled over the last number of weeks. 16 sacks in your last 3 games, haven't given a touchdown in over 8 quarters.
I mean, that's great DB play. That's not nothing to do. I mean, the D-line, we work with the DBs and the linebackers. We got Jameer Thurman, we got Roland Milligan, we got all those DBs. They're so good at their job, they make our job easier. So all we got to do is go out there and hunt.
Mike had talked a little bit about the way that you have come together, though, and saying that you've been afforded the opportunity to call some of the pre-snap stuff that the defensive line does. How much does that responsibility make you happy?
I guess that would make me the smart one. I'll take that. No, man, we those guys are all pretty much vets. When you got a bunch of vets and they're all working together, we pretty much can just look at each other and know what we need to do.
Some of the guys that come from Calgary to Saskatchewan or other places, especially Saskatchewan, they'll talk about the amount of green that there is in the stands at McMahon Stadium. How do you feel about that, having those fans cheering for you this time around?
There was a guy on Instagram, I won't say his name, but a long time ago when Trevor Harris got hurt, he got rolled up on, he sent me and Derek Wiggin at the time, who was my nose tackle, a few disparaging messages, and as soon as I signed to the Riders, that same man said, "I'm so glad you're here." Like the messages never happened, so I appreciate the Rider fans. They're all about
it. I guess. I don't know. I like I said, I think I'm going to take an alt spread. Something's telling me that the Riders win by more than 5. Colson. They're a 1-point favorite on most lines right now. I think the over-under is a really curious one, as I'm seeing on a couple different places, 50 and a half. Mind you, good defenses.
Very.
I don't know. And then I don't know. Like I took last week when I saw the Bo Levi Mitchell over 320 passing yards. I couldn't run to take that one close enough. I'm not seeing any props yet. Those will come out tomorrow. But yeah, still 1-point favorite for the Riders.
I'm just trying to remember when Calgary beat Winnipeg. How bad was it? Because I remember that there was like 2 interceptions, 2 pick sixes in that game. Mm-hmm. That was really when everyone started going, oh, okay, Calgary might be real.
Yeah, it was. And kind of Damian Alford caught a few there, and they were going, started going off on there, and then
it was 41-20. It was the week after they beat us.
And also, that was the week before they played us, where I was watching that when I was like, who's this Alford guy? He's a pretty good player.
Well, they played Winnipeg, then us, then Calgary. But Calgary's real. We can't take them lightly. But I agree. I think we are the better, more complete team.
And there was the smoke thing. It was a day after, yada, yada. Tonight, I'm curious on Edmonton and Ottawa tonight. Joking aside, season is kind of kaput. I think for the loser of this one tonight, maybe I'm a little bit, haste on that, but these 2 teams, it starts actually in a bit here. Ottawa still has a chance to make the playoffs. Edmonton still has a chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah. We're in week 12, right? There's still.
But then you got to look at the schedule and who do you got coming up. Like Riders still got to go there. The odds are stacked against you now. Both of these teams as basement dwellers, kind of like if you're playing Toronto. you got to pull it out. And I joked earlier, it's kind of the loser goes home match, and we talked to Farhan about that, and he kind of said the same thing. It's kind of the season could be done early. Crazier things have happened. The one thing that we talked earlier this week is if somebody said, well, when the Riders go on their slide, and they mentioned the slide that the Riders went on with Darien in, was it 13 of 5 losses in a row. There's no way that's happening to this Rider team.
Yeah.
In this CFL.
Yeah, no. Because our games are spread out enough. Like, yeah, you've got back-to-back Winnipeg, but after that, we play Montreal, which could be a tough game. But then I think we're in Ottawa. No, we've got to bye. But then we play Edmonton. So, like, there's no stretch of 5 games straight where the opponents are ridiculously tough. And
I caught Winnipeg, Montreal last night. And for the longest time there, and there was people kind of chirping online and stuff too, like Montreal's in that game with a 3rd or 4th string quarterback.
Yeah.
And then Dembski getting hurt for Winnipeg. So I just Winnipeg, and I know we still have to give them the respect from where they've been,
but they're banged up.
And the next, we got them back-to-back weeks. I don't know if there was ever a year that we were going to slap them around a bit, I think this would be it.
And we play them again late in, I want to say October, in Winnipeg. So
do we? We go there twice, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's October 17th.
Yeah, we usually play them. We'd always play them twice, but we usually play them 3 times.
Gotta go back there, October 17th. We're gonna hear from the new kicker and how he got to town. It's pretty interesting. Still, Craig Button.
Before we go to break,
okay,
I got a quick shout out.
Sure,
Mom and Dad, happy anniversary
today.
Today, 33 years. Love you guys both so much.
Oh, what would they do? A little supper?
Probably not shake the lake. That's not their thing. But probably kick my younger siblings who are still at home out of the house. Have the evening for themselves.
Maybe watch a movie, some popcorn, order in some Western. Hey, it's cold at Shake the Lake tonight. Yeah, so if they were going, I'd say some sort of blanket, comforter, Afghan, throw on a Siwash and a toque. It'll be cold out there, but default's going to be so good. If you're going out there, maybe I'll see your folks. Yeah, good shout out. Happy anniversary to the Schultzes. It is a Sports Cage, your home of anniversary shout-outs and sports across Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. That's right, they are, and the Riders are in Western Canada. Calgary tomorrow, 2 p.m. We start the Rider Broadcast Network right here. 5 o'clock is kickoff. Big game for the Elks and Red Blacks tonight. 3-6 Elks, 3-7 Red Blacks. Canada Men's Baseball Championship right now. Saskatchewan losing to New Brunswick 5-0. They need to win that one. The host, Regina Trappers, are 2-0 back on the field, 7 p.m. at Curry Field against Manitoba. The Jays are in Florida to take on the Marlins. No Vladdy is what sounds like Shane Bieber's first start tonight. Don't forget the Regina Thunder home opener Sunday, 1 p.m. at Leibel Field versus the Edmonton Huskies. Now, the Riders did bring in a kicker this week in Campbell Fair. Dave Thomas did some digging, and he had quite the journey to get to Regina.
Been a heck of a 48-hour period for you, sir. Take me through, Campbell, what you've been going through.
Well, I got the call on Monday night around 8 p.m. and they told me they wanted me to come out, but it would have to be a bit of a journey. So I left around 9:30 on Monday night and slept in Hamilton for a couple hours. Drove down to Buffalo the next morning and had a few connecting flights. We had cancellations, delays. We had to reorganize everything, but finally got back on Tuesday night, or I guess yesterday morning, 3 a.m. And then got to kick yesterday. That went well. And got to kick again today, and that went well as well. That went well too. But yeah, happy to be here.
Heck of an experience to get here and then thrown right into the fire. What has the messaging been from the coaches, from your teammates as you come in, and welcome back to Rider Nation, if you will?
Yeah, it's been great. Everyone's been super welcoming. It felt like I was integrated into the team very well, and like even the vets are talking to me, being good vets. Brett's been great. He's been giving me a lot of advice, especially with trying to get up to date on the snap, hold, kick operation and getting the timing right on that.
So what did you do? You were in camp with Edmonton, and then you go home afterwards, and do you just keep kicking on your own?
Yeah, so once Edmonton let me go, I basically just proceeded like I was still playing on a football team. So every day I would go to the field, kick, do some running, and then after that I would go to the gym. But it was a little bit more of a load because I also had to go work a 9-to-5 job before. So that's one thing I've noticed is that the afternoons are a lot less busy.
So did you go ahead and have to give 2 weeks notice when you got the call?
Luckily, the business knew that I was pursuing this, and they were very accepting of it, and they were pushing me as much as they could. So
what is your mindset right now as you come into this opportunity?
Well, my mindset is to approach every day like I'm going to be kicking on the weekend, and just in case it does happen, then that puts me in the best position to succeed. And take it one kick at a time, and hope for the best.
You talk about the process, right? There's a snap, there's a holder, there's a lot of pieces that are moving for that one kick to occur. Yeah. Do you have to adjust to how the hold goes, or does the holder have to adjust to you?
Well, it's a little bit of both. Like I let him know how I want it tilted and all that, but then I have to adjust to the cadence and the snap, because that's different with every snapper and holder. So we got some kinks worked out today, and I'm feeling confident with the operation.
You had a very successful career at Ottawa. Tell me about that experience with U Sports and how that's prepared you for this opportunity.
Yeah, in Ottawa it was pretty good because I got to work with Lewis Ward, who was the kicker there before me, and he stayed in Ottawa. So he came out and would help me and give me some good tips. But I also got to kind of be my own boss there, and I was left to myself to work on my craft, and that forced me to be self-sufficient, and if there was a problem, I had to figure it out on my own. So.
How do you figure that out? Video work?
Yeah, you watch your kicks, and just once you've been doing it for a while, you get a feel for what's going wrong, and then you work on those little things, and eventually you get good again.
Well, we welcome you back to Rider Nation. I know it's been a whirlwind week for you. Yep. Appreciate you doing some time.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome back to the Sports Cage on this Friday for Nelson. Home, still more to get to on the Riders as they arrive in Calgary, getting ready for the Stampeders. Let's talk some hockey here now. Let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Perfect pizza, generous amount of toppings, all the Greek favorites you love. Perfect night in this weather for some Western pizza. We've talked about it a number of times. The Western Canada Professional Hockey Scouts Foundation celebrating Indigenous hockey coming up September 30th here in Regina at the Connexus Arts Center. One of the guests and one of the speakers that will be here is Craig Button, TSN analyst, hockey analyst. Craig's been on the show before. Craig, thanks so much for doing this today. Let's start with the Western Canada Scouts Foundation, Professional Scouts Foundation. Like scouting and hockey, you've been around the game a long time. You've scouted, you've done all that. This has been a long time coming, something like this, to recognize scouts and across Western Canada, but we need it for the whole country.
You're exactly right. I think that when you first mentioned recognizing the scouts, it's a job that there's only one way to do it. The rubber has to hit the road. And it's a job where the scouts are dedicated, they're passionate, they're trying to find players that can help their affiliated NHL clubs compete for a Stanley Cup. That's what they're in it for. And a lot of nights, a lot of miles, like driven. And it's a selfless job. And I think there's been so many wonderful scouts over the years that we've recognized with the Western Canadian Professional Hockey Scouts Foundation, and the current scouts who continue to do just fantastic work. And so the acknowledgement and recognition for the scouts' work is one thing, but because we're in all the communities and we see and are going and spending time in these communities, we want to make sure that we can give back to the communities. We not only want to recognize the scouts, help the scouts in their times of need, but also in the communities. We see a lot of barriers to entry for participation, not only in hockey, but in sport. So if we can raise money to help our fellow scouts in their times of need, to help communities and young people participate in sport, then we've done, and that's what we set out to do, then we will be able to look back and say that we've accomplished a lot of things. A new development, the National Hockey League is going to be a significant part of our day recognizing Indigenous hockey players in Regina on the day of Truth and Reconciliation, September 30th in Regina. They're not trying. Every effort they make is to try to make hockey for everybody. And, for them to partner with us on this wonderful event is just something that I think gives us not only great optimism moving forward, but also showing that what we're doing has legs and that people want to be involved with us. And that's ultimately the goal. When Garth Malarchuk set out to do this, the chairman, and I think there's a big smile on his face with what we've been able to accomplish to date.
September 30th, like I said, at the Connexus Arts Center, special guest Jordan Tutu, Brian Trottier, Dave Tiger Williams, the King brothers from Meadow Lake, John Morasti, Ron Delorme, Rich Pilon, Brent Dodging Horse. Like, what a crew, just to be able to hear some of those stories. I'm going to put you on the spot, and this might be a little bit tough. Those names I mentioned, when I mention those names, is there a story, is there a memory that comes up for you for any of those players?
Well, I think there's lots of memories. I mean, they're players that not only, like in the case of Brian Trottier, Ronnie Delorme, some players are older than myself. Brian Trottier, I mean, he won the Stanley Cup 7 times, 6 as a player, 1 as an assistant coach. Everything that he did in the game. And, you watch how hard he competed. Yeah, Ron Delorme, who's been just an unbelievable influence on the Western Canadian Professional Hockey Scouts Foundation, but also on Indigenous youth and on Indigenous people in Western Canada. And somebody that, when you think about the toughness that Ronnie displayed, the kindness that he has exhibited over the course of his life and continues to exhibit on a daily basis is just tremendous. Brett Dodging Horse, who was just recognized by the NHL for his involvement and efforts. These are all players that, when I was scouting, I watched Brett Dodging Horse. I watched the King brothers. You're watching Jordan Tutu, who's really been an influential person for a lot of people. I mean, you think about Jordan coming down from the far north to try to pursue his dreams and achieving some of his dreams. They're just wonderful. The stories that I have about them are going to pale in comparison to the stories that they have. The stories that they have of people that touch them and help them, and that they're trying to work to help and make sure that, young people can not only dream, but can have a realistic path to achieving those dreams. I think that's what makes everybody so special in that regard that's going to be at the banquet in Regina.
It's going to be amazing. And I think, you got the Dodging Horse, and I just remembered a memory. You said you scouted him, how he was young. He must have been just 16, winning the Royal Bank Cup with the Vernon Vipers against Melfort. And we have had Trevor Blevins, coach of the Melfort Mustangs, on this program a long time. I was my first year junior. I remember that Melfort had no business losing this hockey game. It was a 1-game showdown in Melfort, and it was Jeff Cheeseman, Brett Dodging Horse. I forget the goaltender for Vernon. Great stories all around the table. I want to ask the scouting part. When you go back and scout your days scouting, early days, maybe even before you, what's the biggest thing that's changed? Obviously there's been a lot of things that changed, but everything's so readily available now. online, and you can watch kids everywhere. You mentioned that, the rubber's got to hit the pavement, and you got to get out and see these kids live. Like, what are the major changes for scouts right now?
I believe that it's I think there's two things that have really helped. I think that technology with respect to video, how you collect data, how you share data, has really helped. I mean, you used to write out your reports. I remember Ken Holland. The tournaments used to end over in Europe. And Kenny was the chief scout for the Detroit Red Wings, and he'd come in with binders of all the reports that were like this wide, and that's what he traveled with, going through the reports, trying to get prepared for the meetings. You don't have to do that anymore. You know, with the computer scouting programs that are available, readily available, you can manage data. You get it instantaneously. You don't have to do a report, send it in, have it read, and everything now. So that type of technology has been really tremendous. The video has also been really good too. I'm a big believer that you got to start by watching the players. If you're using video as your primary source and your first source of watching players, I think that you're missing a lot. But as a secondary source, and I'll give you an example. So me and you go to games and we watch a player and we really like a player. And it used to be, I don't think his skating is that good. And you're going, no, he's a good skater. Don't worry about it, right? Well, now we can just pull up the video and we can watch it together. And you can say, here's what I'm thinking. I go, okay, yeah, I didn't see that, right? So the collaboration that works, and video is part of the technology, but I really think that has afforded a more thorough examination of the players. And then the exchange of information, collection of information has helped people really be on top of it. And you don't have to you have time. You can say, you get a report, you go, geez, we really like this guy, but Barney went last night, he didn't like what he saw. And you might have had to wait weeks to get to that point. We're talking mere hours now. And now you can get to you can make sure that you're spending your time effectively and wisely. I'll be really clear. There's 27 weekends you got to scout during the course of a season in hockey. 27 weekends. You better figure out how you're going to use those 27 weekends. And that's Thursday to Sunday. So the 3-4 days in there, call it 3.5 days. That's 100 days. Mm-hmm. You better make sure you use those 100 days wisely, because if you're not, and you're chasing your tail and you don't know what you're chasing, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And this is not a mistake-free business, regardless of how well you're using your 100 days.
I'm curious to get your take. This isn't NHL scouts, but now major junior scouts, and how things are going to change for them. What's your take on now with the CHL athletes being able to go play NCAA? What have you heard? What do you think about how hard it's going to be? How much more you have to work as a junior scout now, scouting kids that you might have for, how many years are we going to have this kid? Are we getting these American kids? I've talked to a couple of teams around here. They've never seen this many American kids coming to camp. So there's a change right there. What are your thoughts on that, Craig?
The doors have opened for everybody now. I know, talking to college scouts, let me take a step back. I think the Western Hockey League scouts, scouting 14-year-old kids, 15-year-old kids, I think it's the hardest scouting on the planet, because you're going and watching kids at that age, and I say this to parents, there's 3,000-4,000 kids at 14 years of age that are really good around the world. And in 4 years' time, that number will be reduced to about 125. And so you're trying to weed out like the junior teams, 18 years old, you're still playing junior hockey. You're trying to weed out at that age who is going to be able to come in and help your team. So I think that scouting has been, in my view, the hardest of any scouting done. Now, when we talk about doors opening, I think that for the college scouts and for the junior scouts, they don't have to go into a 14-year-old or just 15-year-old player's home and try to convince the player what is best for them. Because the path is different for everybody. Can you imagine trying to convince somebody at 14 or 15 that college hockey in 3 or 3.5 years' time is best for you? They don't know what's going to be best for them in 3.5 hours, let alone 3.5 years. And so now the kids can go, well, no, I'm going to go play in the Western Hockey League. I'm going to go play. I can go test myself there. I don't have to wait. I don't have to think about where. And then you can see, do I want to go play in the NCAA? And it's going to work the other way too. You talk about the U.S. kids. They're now going to say, we're going to come and play in the CHL and then see where it takes us. The NCAA prohibited the players. Kelly McCrimmon prohibited the players from playing junior college hockey after playing junior. Kelly McCrimmon played 3 years in Brandon and he went and finished again. And he wasn't the only one. But now that opportunity to go, and I know there's a lot of concern, the 18-year-olds are going to leave. There was only 33 17 and 18-year-old kids playing in the NCAA last year. College coaches continually tell me, and I know it's true, it's really hard. So I think at 19, mostly at 20, you're going to see the players have different opportunities. I'll tell you a quick story. Jonathan Fauchon, who played for the Rimouski Oceanic in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. He was a 20-year-old, didn't get drafted, hadn't been signed. He's going to Providence. I can almost guarantee you that in 2 years' time, if he continues to play the way he's shown me, he'll be signed to an NHL contract at 22 years of age, if he wants to. I don't think that opportunity would have existed if he would have gone and played, if he didn't have the opportunity to go play at Providence and play in the NCAA. Mm-hmm. So I think it opens up doors. It opens up lots of different options for the players, both ways. And I think everybody's going to have to work through it. There's going to be a lot greater understanding of what it means and how to work through it over the course of the next few years. Nobody has all the answers right now, but I do believe that having more doors open for the players is going to be way better and benefit everybody for the most part.
We've it's been well documented, the Gavin McKenna number, the alleged number. Roger McQueen, guy from Saskatoon and right here in Sasky. A lot of people are starting to talk about now what happens when Maddox Schultz, when that comes up, that he's got the chance to go to NCAA or major, like the money. Have you heard anything? And I've been wanting to ask somebody with deep knowledge, how are they making this work? Because as a Canadian going to school in the States, you can't just make money. So have you heard how they're circumventing this to get these guys paid at all?
I do not know how it works. I do not know the mechanics of it. And so you talk about Gavin McKenna. So I mean, he's a very, very unique player. He's a unicorn, and certainly, going to Penn State and playing in the NCAA, the Western Hockey League goes, geez, this is a player that we could have had. But if I rewind this and think about it in a different way, Macklin Celebrini very well would have come and played in the Western Hockey League, as would have Jonathan Toews, as would have Cale Makar, instead of saying, well, I can't go there because I want to go to college. Well, they could have come and played in the CHL, the Western Hockey League, and played for 2-3 years before they went to the NCAA. Like, it's going to cut both ways.
Yeah.
Like Macklin Celebrini, Cale Makar, they're great players. Like Jonathan Toews. Imagine that the Western Hockey League, we're going to have those guys playing for in the Western Hockey League. Yeah, there's going to be players. Roger McQueen is going. Cole Reshny, Keaton Verhoff, Gavin McKenna. We know that they're going so. But there's going to be other good players coming the other way, and there's going to be other good players at 16. They're saying, you know what, I might want to go to school, but I don't have to worry about that right now. I'm going to come and play with an opportunity to participate in a really good program in the highest league. Why did the players go play Junior A, Canadian Junior A, whether it be the Saskatchewan Junior League because that was their path to the NCAA. Yeah. That's not the case anymore.
Yeah,
you go play in the CHL, and I think you're going to see a lot of good players that may have gone Junior A. Now they're going to play in the CHL, and that's a benefit. So
that's a good point.
Said, it cuts both ways. And there's going to be a lot of ancillary benefits for the Canadian Hockey League as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point that I haven't heard many people talk about. Let's end on this. It's Craig Button joining us here on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. I think the last time we talked, you were a big proponent in the World Junior team in Hockey Canada needing a consistent voice, a consistent leader maybe there. They get it with Al Miller, who was with our Regina Pats. Now he's there. Just, does it make you happy to have that, I guess, finally now? Secondly, there's got to be enormous pressure on Al after what happened last year.
Yeah, like a couple things that I would say. I think that the people that formed the management group in previous years poured every single effort they could to helping the team be the best they could, select the best players. But having somebody full-time, and it's not just full-time for the junior team. Al has the background now of kids at 16, 17, 18, coming through the program of excellence, and you got a background. And I think that that's going to be a real benefit. If you're just going out to catch a player, to see a player, and for 2 games he doesn't play very well, that can skew you. But what that also can do is say to you, like, we missed a player or we missed 2 players. Al now can say, listen, that kid's too good. He had 2 bad games. I'm not worried about it, right? And I think that what I call institutional knowledge is something that's going to really benefit the junior program. That being said, the competition is fierce, and everybody saves their best for Canada. And I think that when you can watch and understand how players have responded under pressure, and then you can say, hey, these are the guys that give us the best chance. And remember, it's the best chance for 10 days. It's not who's going to have the best NHL career. It's who gives us the best chance to compete for a gold medal for 10 days. And I think by having Al in that position, I think that it'll be a real benefit to Hockey Canada.
Right on. Okay. Well, we can continue this conversation September 30th. Maybe, Craig. Thanks so much for taking time here. Looking forward to the event. And again, just have a good weekend in sunny Calgary.
I will have a great week, and thanks for having me. And really encourage everybody to be in attendance on September 30th. Also, I would be remiss in not mentioning the Brandt Group of Companies is also a sponsor of that event. So, Regina's own Brandt Group is going to be there as well as the NHL. So it'll be a great night, and you'll hear some great, wonderful stories that really that will inspire you. I guarantee it.
That is correct. It's coming up September 30th at the Connexus Arts Center here in Saskatchewan. That was Craig Button, TSN hockey analyst. We got Jordan Tutu, Brian Trottier, Dave Tiger Williams, the King brothers from Meadow Lake. We can talk Chucks and hockey with DJ King, John Nasty Marasti, Ron Delorme, Rich Pilon, Brett Dodgenhorst. It goes on. And then you got guys like Craig Button coming. It's going to be a great night. Tickets available, HockeyScoutsFoundation.com. Again, September 30th, Connexus Arts Center. We start tomorrow, 2 p.m. here on Rider Radio. It's the Riders and Stamps. Until next weekend, that's it for me. Have a great weekend. Go Riders. We'll talk to you on Monday.